You know, I've come to terms with it, guys. I'm a masochist. I'm a Concacaf Champions League masochist. I want the pain. Give me the pain. Will we have pain this year?
There's pain every year.
Yes, we will
that's
have
what
pain.
this tournament is for. It is the Gom Jabbar for CONCACAF.
I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's appropriate. I don't know if we can air this.
Dune.
But our CONCACAF Champions League special starts now. Oh, from New York, you are listening to Extratime, driven by Continental from the AT&T MLS studios in Midtown Manhattan. I am Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, Charlie Davies, Chuck D, back in the building, David Goss, Matt Doyle. What a beautiful day it is, boys. It's here. Real soccer on the field for actual points. It matters. It's the CONCACAF Champions League. The long winter is over. It's not actually over. Depending on where you live, it might still be cold and miserable. But there is soccer on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from our favorite region in the world. So welcome, Charlie. As Dave said before we got on here, you should probably text. If you're going to wear the leopard print, you should just give us a heads up so I don't come in here and look like a scrub in a hoodie.
Do you do a lot of animal prints?
Yeah, I love animals.
Okay.
So
Wait,
whoa, time out.
Yeah.
If you like animal prints, when they and potentially using things with animals when they're no longer alive.
Oh, don't get into
I don't know
this
that counts as
discussion.
loving
Do
an
not
animal.
I love animals, and I'm a big fan of animal
All right,
print.
maybe
So
not
wait,
the ethical
leopard,
thing we want to go
tiger,
into.
zebra,
Yeah, I have all three.
giraffe.
No giraffe.
No giraffe. Okay, well, next time you're on the show, draft print sweater.
Wow, are we just trying to go through all the
That'll be
endangered
tough to
species
find.
here? Yeah, jeez. It's a great show.
You'll
It's
have
a
to go
great
back
day.
to Denmark.
Yeah.
Happy holidays to those of you who don't have to work today. Generally, February is coming and gone. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Black History Month panel that Caitlin Carr put together, you heard from Zito on our last show, DeMarcus Beasley, Mason Toy, Jessica McDonald, Eichel Para, all part of that conversation. Go listen, think, digest, wait to speak, wait to open your mouth. First, use your brain. We're going to just throw our brains out the window now because it is time for our favorite competition of the year, the CONCACAF. Come on, Producing Anders. He had one job, dude. Oh. Ah, yes, that's
There it is,
yeah.
baby.
It's like Darth Vader.
Yes, that's the good stuff. The Montreal Impact, Canadian
This is literally
champions.
Gasman's ringtone.
Atlanta United, U.S. Open Cup winners, NYCFC Shield runners-up, LAFC Supporter Shield winners, and the Seattle Sounders of MLS Cup. We'll talk about all of them. Jon Arnold will be here to preview all four Liga MX clubs and the rest of the field in Central and the Caribbean. Gonzalo Pineda from the Sounders. We'll talk to him about Liga MX and how MLS gets over the hump, and we will preview the tournament for all 5 MLS teams involved. Why the win? And also, we got to seed the doubt in honor of Bim Bear. Why they won't win, because realistically, we know what this tournament is about. We'll also get our predictions. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday, Motagua hosting Atlanta. Leon hosting LAFC without Walker Zimmerman. Saprissa hosting Montreal on Wednesday, then Thursday, San Carlos, NYCFC, and Olympia, Seattle. Let's see. Should we just do history first? We kind of said seed the
start
doubt.
on a high.
Start, yeah, really get get your kind of hopes up, make you feel good about yourself. Look, MLS has never won the CONCACAF Champions League. You know that. The modern iteration, that is Monterrey, they're the defending champions. They've won 4 of these things. 2 MLS teams have won the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which maybe, Doyle, you remember better than we do. Mm-hmm. If people don't remember, that was sort of, I think it was pre-2008.
It was before the polio vaccine was found. Right? Back when you were hanging out.
Yeah,
There you go.
it was when Coca-Cola had a little something extra in it.
It was actual sugar. It was that great DC United team in '98. Echeverry, Moreno, Ben Olsen as a rookie, Eddie Pope, of course, under Bruce Arena. Then it was, and that was I think Bruce's last games as manager of DC before he took over the U.S. for that first time. And then it was Ziggy's LA team 2 years later with Kobe Jones, Cienfuegos. I think Alexi was on that team.
Yep. Ezra Hendrickson.
Yep. One of the great overlapping right backs.
Yeah, who
back
was
in
then,
the day.
of course, on Siggy's staffs for so long
There
after
you go.
that. Really
So those
connection there.
teams won, but it was a different format. Like it was.
It was
there have been
basically
a lot
like
of,
a weekend tournament.
Yeah, and there have been a
was
lot
like-
of format changes. And then I think after 2000, they did away with it for like 6-7 years, and they only brought it back again in 2007?
Oh man.
5? Thanks, David. All right.
Yeah. I mean, both of you
Well,
really
we'll just
helping out here.
throw out random
Look, the
numbers.
Champions Cup was around throughout that time. It was a little bit, look, it was a weekend tournament. It was like 5 days. It was 8 teams. It was a single bracket. You rolled through. DC won theirs in DC. LA won theirs in LA. So while I give them all the credit in the world because they did beat good competition in both, it's not the same as it is now. So that's okay. It's good to acknowledge. In this era, though, every tournament is the same. Because it's won by Liga MX. Every single tournament has been won by Liga MX. 3 MLS teams have made 11 finals, of course. 7 others in the semifinals, so that's okay, I guess, but that's still about a fourth of semifinalists, really, if you do the math. SKC was there a year ago, and they got worked 10-2 by Montreal. We're going to revisit finalists of years past as this show rolls along. Real Salt Lake in 2011, MLS 4 RSL. Like I think that was like when hashtags became a thing. That was the beginning of hashtags. Montreal Impact in 2015, epic run by them. All I see is Frank Klopas just thrusting. Mental image that I try to beat out of my brain. And then Pachuca, of course, that was that game. And then we'll talk about Toronto FC in 2018. Let's just start here. CCL is niche. We know that. I love it. I think you guys love it. Arguably, it's illogical that we all love it to the degree that we do because it is just heartbreak year over year over year over year. So, Dave, what makes this special? Why should people get CCL fever? Why should people care? Because there are a number of people out there that say, no, not for me.
So
even
there's
coaches and players even.
Multiple questions being asked. Why is it special? Because soccer's a global sport, and one of the cool things about soccer is when you bring a bunch of people together who are different and you have that shared bond, but you get to watch things happening in different places, and to watch a team that you go, to Harrison, New Jersey to watch weekly, go down to Honduras, get off a plane, go into this other environment to learn about those fans, to learn about the fields and the stadiums and the history, and to watch the game being played in different ways. That is why it's special. And that's why we love it, because it's insane, because the world is insane. That's a fact. Why does it matter? Why do we have CCL fever? Because we spend so much time talking about where MLS is. Where does this league stand? What does this mean? What does the signing of Liga MX players mean? What does Javinko coming at this point of his career mean? What does Vela coming? And as soccer fans, all of us soccer fans, we watch the sport around the world, and MLS sits in a weird place. It's newer. It's changing in ways that other leagues aren't changing, at speeds other leagues aren't happening. And the one thing sports is about putting 2 teams on a field and winning the game and looking at the scoreboard. And this is the one opportunity for those conversations, which are all hypothetical, to become real, which is MLS is better because they're doing better in an international competition against foreign teams. I think for all of us, we grew up watching a lot of Liga MX, being around a lot of Liga MX fans. That is what American soccer really is. And so it's personal because we go to a restaurant and watch Liga MX on Saturday, and then they tell us MLS isn't good. And then we can come back Wednesday and watch TFC beat that same team. And that's really exciting for us. So it's the one chance really to have that barometer where we don't have to talk hypotheticals where this guy was at this stage in his career, did this in France, but then he came here. So if transformative property, not the right word.
Think that was.
So that's one of the reasons.
Transitive.
Yeah. So it's special, I think, for that viewing purpose, but why it matters to us so much is because of what it can prove.
Transformative is what MLS wants this to be. They want to get the win. They want to go to the Club World Cup. They want to have the bragging rights, the ability to look down to Mexico and say, you don't have hegemony on this region anymore. We are here. We are powerful. We are rising. I think the progress point was a really good one because this league right now is all about that. And we oftentimes are trying to put our finger on exactly what that means and how far they've gone and what the sort of angle of improvement is. This is an opportunity to do that. Player's perspective, Charlie. You haven't played in this. We did the research just before this.
You got hosed.
Definitely got hosed.
Yeah, your Revs team got screwed, man. That MLS Cup finalist team.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
No.
We should have played in that competition.
How do you feel about this tournament? How do the people that you talk to, your peers, when this is coming up, what are they saying?
Well, you want to win. It's only good if you win. That's the whole thing, is going to a Club World Cup. That is a tremendous experience to play against potentially the Champions League winner, the best team in South America. that's what you want as a player, to play against the very best and put yourself, really test yourself against, quality competition, and potentially maybe it's a launching pad for you, because if you produce and you excel in playing against that competition, guess what? The next time the summer transfer window comes around, you're gone. So it's an opportunity for players to really show what they're capable of, and hopefully if their dream is to play in Europe, that's the place where you show you can do it.
And there might be a launching pad now, to be honest,
for the other direction.
Yeah, either way. Like Gustavo Bo, you think that's not where you think? They had to have scouted him with Tijuana in a tournament like this. Yeah. A lot of these players.
I think
Polito,
Tim Bezbatchenko mentioned in the Zelarayan signing, like, he's performed well against MLS teams, so we know what his level is.
Mm-hmm. Rodolfo Pizarro. Like, Rodolfo Pizarro was kind of underwhelming in Liga MX play the past couple seasons, but he was amazing in Champions League. And he just ripped teams apart.
And fantastic with Mexico.
Yeah.
So
you see these guys in different environments. It gives you a good baseline to sort of understand. And the other thing is, I mean, playing in Mexico, like, you're probably going to be playing at like 7,000 feet. It takes a lot of getting used to, and it's really, really valuable experience for just looking at it from like a U.S. national team or Canadian national team perspective. It is a really, really valuable experience for these guys to do that with their clubs before World Cup qualifying.
Another thing that I think is very beneficial is the drastic change in style of play. When you're playing the Liga MX teams compared to your typical week-to-week in MLS, it's very different in the sense of players know what it means, the value of possession. It's very important to teams where they keep the ball. They want to make you tired. And when you do lose the ball as an MLS team, you finally realize, wow, this is what international soccer is all about. It's keeping the ball, and why first touch and why awareness is so important, because if you do lose it against top competition, it takes a long time for you to get that ball back, and when you do get it back, you're exhausted.
Tell me the love affair for you, Matt. Is it a love affair? Is it a pit in your stomach?
An abusive relationship.
Yeah, that one.
How many columns have the two of us written in combination that are basically like, not this year, CCLfever?
See, you
again?
haven't even noticed. I've kind of tapped out of those the past couple of years. It's like Weevy's domain.
That is.
I do love it because if we want to have one of the very best leagues in the world, we have to have the best league in our region first. And so far, we don't. Now, there's been real progress made over the last 5 years, especially since the introduction. I have the numbers, actually. Since the introduction of TAM in 2016, really, when it was more than just $100,000. MLS teams are 8-7-3 with a +3 goal differential against all Liga MX sides, except for the ones in Monterey. But like the ones in Monterey, 2-8-0 with a -16 goal differential, because the amount of money and the amount of talent that Tigres and Rayados have put into those teams is just staggering. They're basically the Liga MX version of Chelsea and Man City, where they were not big clubs by any stretch, but then they got ownership that was committed to it at a different financial level than anything that they had seen before. But the rest of Liga MX, it's been basically an even playing field, which is a sign of like real progress. But now we just had an off season in which I want to say 16 different MLS teams set their own club record for transfer fees. And we've seen what the new CBA means in terms of increasing spending. And we've seen players coming through academies who are playing at a high level. MLS seems better set. These teams seem better set to compete. Mm-hmm. That said, I feel a lot more confident if Walker Zimmerman hadn't just been traded, if Miles Robinson didn't just get hurt, if Montreal looked like they were anything close to a full squad right now, if NYCFC hadn't lost their head coach and sport. Like there's a bunch of different caveats here. So I am ready for yet another month of abuse from the Concacaf Champions League, because that's what it's been.
Exactly. Anybody miss the group stage? That's gone now.
I do, actually.
Yeah. The group stage, in case you just got on this thing, was basically, it was like 3 teams, and you go play 4 games, and you had to win the group to get through, and you would go to, Arabe Unido, you would go to Municipal, you go to Santa Tecla, you would go to all these Walter Ferretti. Central,
Not even kidding.
TNT, San Francisco, all these teams.
Public, baby.
Western Connection, baby. That's no longer
Not Western Connection. Curveball.
What?
W Connection.
Just W.
Which I'm pretty sure, it took me up until like a few months ago, doesn't stand for West.
Huh.
That was just an assumption that I think I always made.
Everyone.
Literally,
every
from
single
the start
person
that I saw that appear.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure in games broadcasts, they call them West Connection.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
I think they're owned by the Williams family.
Oh, well, the Williams connection.
Yeah,
there
I aspire to that someday. I'll call it the Weeby connection. You guys want to go down memory lane? Anybody want to go down memory lane?
I have a new least favorite team, it turns out.
Take off your sweater, Charlie. Take it off, man. Whip it around your head, Frank Klopas style. I'm not going to throw you out of this podcast, but Frank definitely got chucked out after this goal by Cameron Porter. This is still legendary in the group chat. This is still something we talk about every single year. Cameron Porter actually came and worked at MLS, like interned within our product department. That's a big change. This was Pachuca in the quarterfinals of the 14-15 tournament. Alajuelense they would beat in the semis, and they would go to face America in the final, and of course they would fall short. But I think they drew 1-1 at Azteca. I was there. It was epic. The crowd was shocked because Montreal took an early lead and just like whoosh, went super quiet. And of course they got a goal back. And then the final at Stade Olympique.
You wouldn't know what it's like to play at the Azteca.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Let me tell you
Weeby's
about
been
it.
there
I was
for a
in the
game.
stands. I stood on the sidelines for a while.
You would
It was
understand,
awesome, Charlie. Someday we'll get you there.
Can I give you a little taste of the lineups in that second game?
God.
Ventura Alvarado, Darwin Quintero started for Club America.
Yes, sir.
in that second leg.
Uribe did as well.
Yeah, Uribe did as well.
Did Hussam Kamara start for Montreal?
No. Nigel Reo-Coker actually started at right back in that game.
Baki did.
Donnie Toya started at left back in that game. Dilly Duca.
Marco Donadel was built for
Marco
CCL.
Donadel.
He was
the
built
starting
for
center forward. The starting center forward, Damaduro.
Woohoo! Yes, sir. This
So
was
Jack McInerney came off the bench.
Yeah, Andres Romero was on. I think he scored early, and the place went crazy, and then Club America just
The start of the second half, it was Dario Benedetto.
Yeah, they just stepped on him. Who was the goalkeeper? Moises Munoz. Who remembers Moises Munoz talking mad trash ahead of this? Basically, that Montreal didn't deserve to be in the same stadium as America. And then they drew at Azteca, and he doubled down in Montreal. And then after the game was like, "What did I tell you?"
Right, of course.
That's the that's the Piojo move. Piojo comes in super positive every time he plays an MLS team now. He did it with Toronto. He did it with Atlanta, where he's like, it's a great league. It's growing. And then after the game, he's like, we didn't lose. This is BS. It was refereeing.
Yeah.
And he's like so angry.
There's some politics going on from everybody involved publicly in this. Let's talk now before we get to Jon Arnold, who'll give us a scouting report on all the Liga MX sides, all the Central American sides that MLS teams are about to face this year, the bracket. You can go check it out. MLSsoccer.com, CONCACAF has it, Wikipedia, however you prefer to do this. What is your take on the bracket right now, Doyle? What do you think? Who has the easiest path? Who's got it tough? Just in case people don't know, Impact have Saprissa, Sounders have Olympia, New York City FC have San Carlos, LAFC have León, and Atlanta have Motagua. America's waiting for Atlanta. Tigres are waiting for New York City, and then the Sounders. And Cruz Azul is kind of hanging around. I maybe made it a wrong assumption there. Cruz Azul is waiting for LAFC as well, if they can get by León.
Right.
Easy
everybody kind of feels that this is set up best for the Sounders. And they have returned most of their front six. They added a DP, sort of deep-lying midfielder. They had to change a bunch of their defense. I think they would have liked it more if Kim Ki-hee had come back, but it's not like they haven't made some good signings. They should beat Olympia in that first game, and then Montreal or Saprissa in that second game, and it is that feels like a coin flip to me.
Is Montreal Saprissa 50-50 or is Saprissa favorites
I think
right now?
Saprissa are favorites.
Yeah.
Montreal was such a wreck in the second half of the season, and I don't think they've scored a goal yet in preseason. Like apparently they just got dominated last night by. They got dominated last week by Nashville. Montreal is in a tough spot, and Thierry Henry is in a tough spot. So that half of the bracket with Seattle, if they get past Olympia, and then whether it's Saprissa or Montreal, they
Can I just interrupt real quick? Saprissa, by the way, veteran team. A lot of guys who have played in CCL before. A lot have played for MLS teams. Marvin Angula as well. Former
Ugalde is their big.
I was going to say former Minnesota and Montreal forward.
Yeah, he's on the edge of my. Yeah, God, why can't I think of his name?
Borges Bolaños is on this team as well.
Yep.
So a lot of veterans, a lot of guys who know this competition. Obviously, also probably the hardest away atmosphere outside of Mexico in the region. So that's part of going into it. Sorry.
So, and then the other point, good rundown on Saprissa. I guess you're a regular Jon Arnold. The other point is that with the way it's set up, Seattle wouldn't have to play a Liga MX team until April. And at that point, it would be Tigres, who will presumably be in their playoff push. And we know that Tigres has traditionally found a way to shoot themselves in the foot when it comes to this tournament. They have gone out. They were the best team in the entire region, basically the entire past decade, and they didn't win this tournament a single time because just one calamity after another when they were on the verge of it. So I would say by far it sets up best for the Seattle Sounders.
As far as worst draw, who has to feel like, oh, this is not going to be great for us? Is it probably LAFC? So it's got to go.
I mean,
Cruz Azul, it's
LAFC,
America, and then probably Tigres.
LAFC are they are drawn against the team that's leading the Clausura right now.
It's a bad draw for them.
And this is Club Leon is they're not a glamour team by any stretch, but they've been consistently good, and they just have veterans at every single spot. This is, generally speaking, not a play your kids type of tournament.
I think this is this sounds like Jon Arnold's territory. By the way, it's Johan Venegas.
Yeah.
He has 10 goals in 22 appearances this year. I don't know how I could not come with that
David
name.
Guzman on this team
I feel
as well.
ashamed that I couldn't hit that name. Yep. All right, let's talk to Jon Arnold. Goal.com, and if you want to learn about Liga MX, if you want to learn about Central America, if you want to know more about our region, Jon Arnold is your guy. John, what's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, great, guys. Happy to be here. Happy for another year of CCL action.
Oh, yes. Our resident Concacaf expert, I want you to know that I personally chose you over Tom Marshall. So if that makes you, I don't know how that makes you feel, but tell the people out there how they can follow your work.
I'm on Twitter at Arnold, John, spell out comma, no H in John, and that's probably the best gateway to all the things that I write and talk about.
Comma is written out in case you didn't figure that out. So don't try to hit the comma button. Let's just run these down. We were talking about Leon. They're at the top of the table right now in the Clausura. 5 games, 12 points. It's still early, but 4 wins and 1 loss is a good, healthy goal differential. What does LAFC have on their plate here, John?
Well, they've got a really good team. I think it's time to stop thinking about Leon as sort of an auxiliary Liga MX team, and put them where I think they belong with the teams that have been successful in the past several years. That Grande's idea of America, Chivas, Pumas, and Cruz Azul being the sort of 4 power teams. Look, that's outdated. The Monterrey teams are so powerful, and so are teams like Santos Laguna and Leon. You look at a guy like Angel Mena, left-footed winger playing inverted, can score, can set things up. He's leading Liga MX in goals right now with 5. I think when you look at a player like him, he's not Carlos Vela, but he's a guy who can do a lot of the things that Vela can do, right? So I think LAFC has certainly not a carbon copy of themselves in front of them, but a team that is dangerous attacking and I think better defending than they've been in a long time. Nacho Ambriza's teams in the past have been sort of honestly boring to me, but this team, he's sort of taken the reins off a little bit. They're more fun in attack with Mena, with Luis Montes, with Ismael Sosa, and even though Macias went back to Chivas, Ramos has been a fine kind of fill-in at number 9. So it's a team with a decent defensive core, a really dangerous attack, several players that can hurt you, and it's going to be, a huge challenge, as I think we knew it would be when we saw that somebody's going to have to take on León in the very first round.
Yeah, John, we saw with LAFC, they were so dominant through so much of last year, but then Seattle just countered them to death out of the MLS Cup playoffs. Does that sort of play into León's strengths as a team? Will they be willing to sit back and absorb and then hit on the break?
Yeah, I definitely think it's something that, Ambriz probably is looking at doing. The speed that a guy like Mena has on the wing, that Sosa has, it's something where I've definitely, it's not necessarily their style of play 100% of the time, but I've seen them do it before. I've seen them spring forward and have that pace. And that transition, I think transition is a big key. For them, they've gotten a lot better when they've been able to actually win the ball in the midfield, which is something they weren't able to do there in the first kind of iterations of this Ambriz team. So that was kind of the missing piece, and now that that's been added, I think it could be quite dangerous. León can be a very dangerous team when they get out and when the ball, have the quick transition and hit on the counter.
Who's the favorite in this, you think? Is it just León straight up because they're in season, in form, top of the table? Or is there an argument for LAFC here?
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask Vegas on that one, honestly. It's who's the favorite. I give León the edge because, look, we every year we say, hey, is this going to be the year that an MLS team wins this tournament? And every year it's not, right? And until that starts to change and change consistently, I think we still just have to almost automatically give the edge to the Liga MX team, especially when it's a team in form like León is. They're sitting at the top of the table. They finished second in the regular season last time around. They weren't that far off from making a run, making the final, maybe even lifting another trophy. And this is a team that wants to win it, right? We talk about the desire of the MLS team that your audience and all of us are watching to win, to lift this trophy for the first time. But León has never won this trophy either. This would be their first international triumph, and I think that's something to remember, that MLS teams aren't the only ones who kind of can set this out as a goal to do it for the first time and make history. It would be significant for León as well. So I think they're the favorite, but I'm super excited about this series, and I certainly would say LAFC has every chance, but I give León a bit of an edge.
Saprissa, we know they have titles in the past, not under this format, but this is a traditional power, and they might be better this year than they have been in a while. Currently top of the Costa Rican League. They've got the Impact, which for them, I think you have to think is a pretty good draw in the round of 16. What's this team look like? What are their ambitions? Who should we be circling on the team sheet?
Well, I think the guy you have to circle is Manfred Ugalde. He's only 17 years old, but he has, I think, 9 or 10 goals since since the summer. Basically, he got kind of won that starting role. Again, only 17. Kind of a fiery guy. He got red carded in the Clásico on Sunday for, I think it was pretty harsh, but sort of maybe a reputation precedes him play. He's the kind of guy who, obviously, you mentioned, well, it looks like Saprissa is a bit stronger this year than they have been in past years, and part of that is they haven't sort of been rated, might be a strong word, but, the cabinet's not barren right now. There are players who you could see an MLS team coming in for here in the next few years. With Ugalde, I wouldn't be surprised to see him almost skip the MLS step and go straight to a team like a PSV, or I think Besiktas was rumored to be scouting him as well. So a super talented player, a guy that I think U.S. fans are going to get used to being frustrated by. But there's also kind of old friends. Cristian Bolaños is actually having a really nice tournament so far. I thought he was really good in that Clásico on Sunday. Johan Venegas is very dangerous, playing against former friends, former team. And guys like Marvin Angulo, if you watch this tournament, you remember him, his playmaking ability. He's 33. I don't think he's ever going to leave Costa Rica again, unfortunately. But just a fun player to watch, really crafty, shifty. And even a guy like Aubrey David, used to play for FC Dallas, is one of the sort of firm players in the Saprissa backline. He's having, I think, a better year as well. So there's a lot of kind of familiar names and faces and guys who are not going to be intimidated by playing MLS opposition because they've done it before in the past. So I do think this is one of the stronger Saprissa groups that we've seen in the last maybe 5 years. And I definitely think that they could be a factor. And look, it's significant that, it's going to be Henry's first kind of challenge. It's in a very difficult place to play against a team that's, I think, pretty together and kind of knows what they want to do. Whereas for Montreal, I'm not so sure that's going to be the case in this sort of transitional moment. So I do think it's one where I'm on upset alert a bit. And I do think it's a strong Saprissa team, definitely kind of better than the past iteration.
It wouldn't be an upset, right? If they won this thing, especially because leg one is at home, though. I mean, Saprissa, to me, Saprissa should be the favorite in this, given the upheaval with Montreal and the way their season went last year.
I think so.
No,
Go ahead,
John. I definitely hear that. I mean, I know I feel like it's the NCAA tournament where it's one of those, it's a 7-10 game, but it's the trendy upset pick, and everybody in the nose kind of saying, ooh, that 10 seed is definitely going to beat that 7 seed. But at the same time, we still are talking about a disparity between the amount of money that a Saprissa, even the power in Costa Rica can spend versus what MLS teams are now spending. And that's only going to keep kind of changing and growing in the future, I think, that disparity. But yeah, for right now, you look at this one and you say, man, this could be Saprissa's to lose.
An opportunity, certainly, for the Costa Rican Giants. Got to go to that Purple Monster for his first game, does Thierry Henry. We'll see what happens there. I just want you to tell, if you don't mind, the San Carlos story, NYCFC's opponent. This is an incredible story. Basically, Alvaro Saborío rolled up to his hometown.
Why are you asking me to tell the story?
And then you start telling.
Because I love it, man. Tell the story, John.
Well, basically, Alvaro Saborío rolled up to his hometown and he decided he was going to kind of end his career. It's a relatively new team, San Carlos. It's not, they're one of the sort of newbies in Costa Rican football. He ended up scoring 13 goals last tournament and led the league. So it leads them to the title. Retires, sort of angrily, I would say. Not angrily, I don't know. It was a very sort of emotional retirement.
Savo does everything angrily, though.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think, all of us who, fans who watched him in MLS can kind of picture the facial expression that he's saying, in November in the mix zone. I'm done. I love football, but I'm out. 33 days later, they have a press conference where he re-signs for a full year, and he's back. And, literally the leading scorer last year in Costa Rica. Here's the thing, guys. He hasn't retired, but I don't know if we're going to see Savo in these games because last night, this is kind of an ETR exclusive. Last night he made his first start of the year and was done by minute 2. He had some sort of injury. I'm trying to find out more information. Nobody's really reported the severity or even where the injury is, but it was his first start of the year. He's kind of working back from some problems, and he comes out in minute 2. So to me, that doesn't look great. They got another game this weekend against Herediano, and their season is not going very well, San Carlos. They've had a lot of draws where they probably should have gotten wins. Definitely not, when you talk about a team in form like a Saprissa or like some of the other, Central American teams that we'll talk about, or León, this is not that. They're sort of struggling. And you add in the fact that, I'm sure this will sound familiar to their opponents, fans of their opponents, but they got to play in a different stadium, sort of a rival stadium, about 2 hours drive south, because their stadium only holds about 5,000 people. It's not up to standard for Concacaf. So
perfect matchup with NYCFC.
Against San Carlos. Yeah, no, it's sort of the vagabond matchup there, right? It's the sort of traveler's classic, I guess, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I don't love San Carlos' chance for an upset. I hope Saborío can play, because I think coming and playing and representing this side in CCL was a big motivating factor for him, putting the pen to paper and suiting up again and trying to push at age 37. And the really great tournament he had last season, it'd be a shame if sort of the last memory of him is sort of limping off and not being able to play maybe in this tournament. So hopefully his health is good. Maybe it was precautionary, but again, when you make your first start of the year and come out in the second minute, it's not super promising.
Not a great sign. That's incredible. One, the injury news. Didn't know that. I didn't even know he was back. I thought he retired and was like, no, not going to happen. The other part of the story is that he originally came back to Saprissa. He had beef with, correct me if I'm wrong here, John, he had beef with the board. He retired then and then came back to the second division with San Carlos, got them promoted, and then they won a title in their first half season in the top
What a
flight.
story.
It's incredible. It's really, really cool. Motagua, Atlanta's opponent. What do you think, man? What do they got?
Well, they're a strong team. This is a team that, is kind of right there in that, I guess, second tier of CONCACAF. They've been, I think, the runner-up of CONCACAF League in the only 2 times it's existed. They're rolling along. They're leading in the Honduran League. There's a kind of logjam at the top of the Honduran League right now. I think it'll be interesting to watch kind of roll out. But, they've got this guy, Roberto Moreira, Paraguayan player who was in the Argentine second division for a long time. They brought him in, I think, 2 seasons ago. He's been heating up lately. I think he's got 5 goals in his last 3 games, 9 or 10 if you take it back to December. So he's really kind of the man to shut down. This is a team that definitely has some, classic Honduran elements, I would say. The defense is stout. They're not going to give you anything easily. And then they've got Moreira up top who can stretch teams, can make things a little bit difficult. So, it's kind of what we've come to expect from a Motagua, from a Honduran champion. I think it's kind of going to be sort of a traditional look, but kind of with the added wrinkle maybe of actually having a forward in great form, which not all Honduran teams have been able to claim in the past couple times that MLS teams have faced them in CCL.
Let's stay in Honduras. Olympia facing off against Seattle,
The rivals.
in the first round. Yeah.
Rivals, yeah.
Give us a little rundown there.
Yeah, they're not as in form as Motagua, but they're right there off the top. I think they're 5, maybe 4 or 5 points off. They're coming off a couple big wins, so they're starting to get in a little rhythm as well. Maybe even more than Motagua, a team with I think, a solid defensive base. They've got a Honduran international, Jonathan Paz, who's left-sided center back, really quality player. One of those guys I wouldn't be surprised at all to see in MLS in the next year or two. I think he really, has a chance in this tournament, facing some of the forwards that the Sounders have, like Rui Diaz, to really make a mark. We'll obviously have to see who wins those battles. Those are the kind of players, or that's the kind of player, I guess, that when I look at Olympia, I see as potentially standing out. I'm not as keen on an upset here just because, we talk about sort of the cycles that some of these teams are in. Saprissa seems up, Motagua seems up, but for me, Olympia's a bit down. They've had a couple players move around and shift around and try their luck in other places. And despite the fact that I think they do have some very strong base pieces, I guess, in defense, I'm not so sure that they can they have what it takes to get past the Sounders. So not saying overlook it, obviously, and of course there's some history there, but I think this is an Olympia team that maybe needs another year or two to kind of be back in the challenge MLS teams phase.
Let's talk then a little bit about the teams that are probably the favorites and the teams that are
looming.
Let's just say the
teams you get out of the round of 16, you're going to have to beat America, a Tigres, a Cruz Azul, maybe a León.
Well, I mean, let's start with talking about Tigres, because as great a decade as they had, and we just talked about this on the show a little bit, they find a way to always fall short in this competition. And does it feel a little bit like this is a reboot season for them? Because it doesn't look like they're as stacked as they have been in the past.
No, I agree. I would also say, though, it's a kind of typical Tigres season. They're like just chilling. I think they got 2 wins, a draw, 2 losses. They just smoked Chivas 3-0. Andre Pierre Gignac gets on the board, so you think, okay, maybe he's going to start to get back in rhythm. The thing, too, the big question that I think for me always looms over this tournament for Tigres is the board says, we want to win this. This is our top priority. We want international trophies. And the fans, when you talk to fans, they say, man, it'd be really great if we could put one over on Monterrey or Cruz Azul or whoever and win this trophy for the first time and represent, CONCACAF at the Club World Cup. And then you ask Tuca Ferretti in the press conference, Tuca, which tournament are you prioritizing or what are you looking for? And, most managers give you a kind of diplomatic answer. Well, we're going to play for both. Or, but, every tournament's important. But, Tuca's Tuca. And he's just like, I want to win the league. And it's like, well, okay, man. So, your bosses are telling you, hey, do this other thing. And you're just, telling them openly, nah, we're not that interested. So the question is the best Tigres going to show up? This is still a team that has crazy depth when you compare it to the rest of CONCACAF and even the rest of the Americas, right? This is a team where, they're bringing Julian Quiñones off the bench. They're bringing Ener Valencia off the bench. They're bringing Eduardo Vargas off the bench.
Not now.
1-minute cameos. These are guys who would be starting anywhere else in the region, and yet, for some reason, Tuca doesn't necessarily see the point of bringing those guys and kind of letting them, in some ways, Valencia, it was his CCL last year, and he did fine, and he scored goals, and then Gignac kind of came in a little late, too late in the process, if you ask me. But it's a Tigres team where I still see the same. For me, the biggest questions for Tigres are the one that I'm mentioning. Are they going to try? And secondly, what's the defense going to do? Because Carlos Salcedo has had a lot of questions about him playing in big games. I think he's up for it. I think he still has the potential to be one of the best defenders Mexico produces and be in Qatar and be in that North American World Cup. But there have been some issues, for sure. And then the other guys are just getting older. So that's my biggest question is, are they going to try? And how can their defense sort of withstand some of these attacking pieces that MLS and other Mexican rivals have brought in?
All right. Club America, Cruz Azul, the other rivals there too. We'll wait for them in the later rounds. This is Jon Arnold. Arnold, John, you spell it out. Go check him out. He is the resident expert on all things Liga MX El Tri, Central America,
Concacaf.
Caribbean. We didn't even hit you with the Portmore United, but next time we will.
Ooh.
John, thank you for your time, man.
Can't wait to talk again, guys. Take care.
Javinko is one of them, though. Javinko here up against Pineda. Stands up the cross back post. Delgado over the bar. What an opportunity for Marky Delgado in stoppage time to try and win it for TFC. This to keep Toronto FC's Champions League dream alive. Up steps the captain. And it's over the bar from Michael Bradley. Heartbreak once again from the penalty spot for Toronto FC.
Oh, the heartbreak. I still remember what this night felt like. I'm pretty sure I was alone at my house watching this game. Current, only wife I've ever had, in bed.
Your third.
And she's just like, why are you so sad? Why are you, like, what's going on out there? Toronto FC in penalties after the run, after Tigres, after El Volcan, after Club America, after getting through the best that Liga MX had to offer. Chivas. Kind of mediocre Chivas.
Kind of mediocre is
I was trying to be
gentle,
kind.
yeah.
Yes. Wins this final. I mean, Dave, you were there for most of this. I think you were there.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
I was in the stadium. It was one of the best atmospheres I've
Tell
ever
Charlie
been in.
what it's like. 'Cause he
Yeah,
may
this is
not
what it's like in Mexico when you're like a part of it. And they had you picture Argentine games where it's like the banners that come down all three sections, and you look over and they're in the Chivas supporter section, and you're like, oh, no one's moving. Then you realize the whole section's moving in one unit, and you can't really tell. And it was just like bumbling noise. And then the lineup comes out, and it turns out that they traveled to Mexico with Eric Zavaleta, who wasn't even healthy. And you're like, this is going to be a train wreck. This is CCL. This is what happens. And then they went out there on the field. They outplayed them every step of the way. They didn't have the legs coming from back-to-back MLS Cups, getting through Club America, getting through Tigres to put all their energy in. They just didn't have like that half inch more. Victor Vasquez was coming off an injury, couldn't really play a full game.
Josie, right?
No, Vasquez was as well and didn't play the full game. Josie got hurt in that game, went off. Michael Bradley obviously missed a penalty kick. And then to watch the reporters have to, because I didn't have a computer out, the beer that comes flying into the press box as they score and win in penalty kicks. And everyone's like, oh no, and like grabbing their laptops to try and cover it. And it's just like beer pouring down. You're like, okay, well, I guess MLS won't win CCL again. And then there was a fire outside the stadium that we had to avoid on the way out.
That was as close as it's ever been. I mean, Montreal had a chance. RSL were actually very close, and we'll reminisce on that again. But that was sort of the team that was built to get over that hump with Javinko and Josie and Vasquez and Michael and the back and Mavinga. And,
well, it wasn't the backline. Michael played in central defense in that game because
I'm just saying they had been built for that moment.
It felt
and to
like
not get over the
and
hump.
they had beaten two better teams, two much better teams to get there. And remember, Chivas had just gotten thrashed by the Red Bulls. The Red Bulls
should have gone through.
They outshot them something like 21-2 in that second leg. Red Bulls made one mistake that entire series. Tyler Adams played a pass underneath, which is like the one pass you can't play against man marking. And Chivas scored on the break. And that was all they had. And the Red Bulls had chance after chance after chance. And it was like one more perfect example of this team being one attacking piece short for 5 years. They're one attacking piece short. Everybody thought after that game, Toronto's got this.
Yeah.
Toronto's got this. Toronto's better than the Red Bulls. They have those attacking pieces. And then that chance falls at the end.
They themselves thought they had it.
Yeah.
The chance falls to Marky Delgado. 10 yards out, 12 yards out maybe, and he just skies it.
So I also go back to, because we mentioned it early in the show, Rodolfo Pizarro scores on a free kick in the first leg. that it's a floated ball in.
Yeah.
And Bono comes out and wafts at it in traffic.
And you're thinking
it lands in the far post. And I was actually sitting right where he took that free kick from, and he puts it in, and just like watching the path of the ball. That was in Toronto, and they scored, and it's just like that moment happens, and you're like, oh, Toronto's going to walk on the, like they're still going to come through. They have these attacking pieces, they believe. And as that game went along was like the moment where it was, this is CCL. Like, this is just something that happens. This Chivas team believes they should win this game, and they have no business believing that.
And that's a big thing. You cannot give up away goals in this tournament, especially these Liga MX teams, because when you have to go back home, the bad news for MLS teams is they cannot win in Mexico. We know this. 5 wins, 34 losses, 8 draws going back to the 08 modern era of Concacaf Champions League. There are, I believe, let's count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think there's 8 years where MLS didn't get a single win in Mexico. That's more than total wins in Mexico, years where they just got wiped. Now, at home...
Three losses, or 3 wins in the last 2 years, though. So, again, that is a data point that is changing.
All-time, at home, MLS teams against Liga MX opposition, 17, 19, and 12. So, better, more wins, still not 500. All-time 22, 53, and 20. It's pretty ugly history. We know that. It's time to change that. We hope that this is the year. Let's talk now to a guy who has some experience in this tournament on both sides of the coin. That is Seattle Sounders assistant coach Gonzalo Pineda. Played for a long time in Liga MX, Chivas, Cruz Azul, Pumas, some other spots, and of course with the Sounders. And then he has, I think 44 caps for El Tri as well. So yeah, he's got a resume and he knows what this thing is about. Gonzalo, welcome to Extra Time.
Hello, thank you very much.
Let's just start with the big question, Gonzalo. Why do MLS teams struggle? You've been in this tournament with Cruz Azul. You've been in it with the Sounders. What is it about Liga MX in this matchup, apart from the obvious, the money, that makes it so difficult for MLS to get over the hump?
Well, I would say this is multifactorial. I think probably one of the main factors, in my opinion, is the calendar. The schedule is not ideal for MLS teams. Even though we started a little bit earlier the preseason compared to the rest of the teams in the league, it's still Mexican League is already on. It's already probably kind of in the middle of the season, and the rest of the clubs are at about the same. So I would say that it's challenging for MLS teams just to compete against teams that are in a good rhythm. But the other part is obviously the style. I would say that the style in CONCACAF is a little bit more technical yet, and Saprissa in Costa Rica and all the Mexican teams normally are very rich technically, and I would say that that's probably one of the things that maybe the style of MLS, which is changing. I would say that it's changing for good. More teams are trying to play probably good football, and I would say that's kind of the bump that we're seeing in MLS competing against Mexican teams.
Gonzalo, tell us a little bit about the value put into this competition from the Liga MX sides, because we just talked about Tigres and how they want to win it, but Tuca Ferretti sometimes doesn't play his best lineups, and you look at Leon, who wants to have international success in the matchups against Monterrey and Tigres. So how do those teams internally, as a player and then as a group, how are they looking at this competition?
Well, yes, I would say that there's a big reward nowadays, probably not in my days. In my days, there was nothing there for the champion of this tournament, and now you have the reward of going to the Clubs World Cup, and that's for me huge, and that's why probably Mexican teams are putting probably much more effort than before on winning this type of tournament. But I would say that now, obviously, there's more competition. I would say that now, compared to 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I think right now, all the MLS teams, I would say that the Mexican League teams pay much more attention to them, or to us in this case. So I think the perspective of Mexican teams competing for this tournament is growing, and in that regard, I think is much better.
Gonzalo, with all your experience, what advice are you giving your players? And are there any players on your team that the style of play in this competition better suits?
Well, they have to understand the style of the area. So it's very different if you go to Guatemala, to Honduras, probably more Central America. putting aside a little Costa Rica, but the rest is probably much more direct football, physical football, probably not a lot of quality at times, and, bad fields at times and bad environment. So they have to be aware of that. They have to be aware of all of that and just play. Be mentally strong for bad referees and for stuff like that, and for the environment in a different place. Probably much more challenging place. So those things are factors. And then if you go to the next level, to Mexican teams or Costa Rican teams, I would say that it's just trying to measure themselves the same. Like never think that we are less than them, because I honestly think that we can compete now with the Liga MX teams in a very good way. I would say that most of the teams in MLS have very good players, very good coaches, and now it's getting better and better.
Gonzalo, let's talk about the external pressures on the Liga MX teams. And I think we could go back to 2018 when Toronto beat Tigres in the first leg. Your Sounders beat Chivas in the first leg, and then the Red Bulls smashed Tijuana in the first leg. And the front page of the daily newspapers there, I think the headline was "Insulting and Unacceptable." And it felt like a real cultural moment where Liga MX fans kind of started putting more pressure on their teams to take this more seriously. And you got kind of a on-the-ground view, because in the second leg against Chivas, they came out kind of ready for blood against you guys.
Yeah, I would say that the atmosphere in those games that you just mentioned, that the second leg was against Chivas and the games in Monterrey versus Tigres for Toronto, the atmosphere in those stadiums is just crazy. I would say that is a big factor, and we know in this league how important it is to play at home, and we know that it's one of the leagues where it is more important to play at home than away. So I would say the same about Mexican teams. They all are very good at creating a great atmosphere against MLS. I think that rivalry is growing every year, and it's good. Honestly, I would say that at some point it's a matter of time, because as long as the MLS players get used to that type of pressure, to that type of environment, they're going to feel normal at some point. And I would say that experience is good for the future, and at some point MLS has to win the Champions League. That's a matter of time, in my opinion.
We'll let you get out of here with one more question, Gonzalo. Impact, Atlanta, NYCFC, LAFC, and then, of course, the Sounders. Who do you think has the best chance outside of your guys to make a long run in this thing?
Well, honestly, it's hard to say. LAFC had probably a tough role. They are facing the first game against Club Leon, who has been playing very good football in the last years on their natural breed conduction. And I feel that sad for LAFC, because they are a great team. I think they did fantastic. They had a fantastic season last one, and now they are facing immediately to a very good opponent. So I would say that LAFC, I see probably one of the strongest out of the four, and but they have a really big challenge, probably a little bit different than the rest.
Seattle, starting with Olympia. You can watch that one on Thursday, the 20th on FS2 at 10 p.m. Eastern. Training down in Mexico are the Sounders right now, getting ready to hopefully make a long run in this tournament. Gonzalo, good luck with everything. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We all felt we can win this. We really felt that it was going to be our trophy.
Cardozo, Suazo, Santana in, leaves it off, loose in front, the goal. Goal for Monterrey.
The whole game, when we let that goal in, I thought we were going to get one. I thought this is meant to be for us.
Avi driving it into the box. Olave heads it down, loose in front, and just wide.
Hit the crossbar, hit the post, had balls cleared off the line.
Shot from distance, just wide by Olave that time.
Even right down to the last minute, we still had some great chances. I can remember them kind of picking one off the line, and the goalie made another diving save.
In front, kicked in and wide.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to put one in the back of the net, and they went on to be the champs.
Hashtag MLS for RSL. Humberto Suazo wasn't. It wasn't about that. Real Salt Lake in 2013. We all remember this. How could you forget this?
Victory goals, man.
If you want to relive it, MLS Insider at the time, my guy Scotty Riddell, traveled around with RSL throughout CONCACAF, throughout their victories, their growing sort of success all the way to the final. They got a great result in the first leg, and they couldn't finish it at home. That's the same story for the Impact. They were the first, man. How do you remember this one, Dave?
Which one, RSL?
Yeah, RSL.
I was at an Irish pub in Boston, and they had like NHL, whatever was on TV, and I went up to the bartender.
Which pub was it?
Hey, they're closed now, but it's in Brigham Circle. It was called The Crossing, R.I.P., man.
Should have been on the left side of this table.
And I went up and I was like, hey, man, there's a huge game going on in Salt Lake City, blah, 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 explained it, and he was like, yeah. Puts it on all the TVs, everyone starts booing, and I was like, sit down! MLS for RSL! And then everyone got super into it, and everyone was heartbroken together about it. But I remember... like Henri making a video, that whole video where it cut between all the stars and all that stuff. And I just remember the whole league being behind what we talked about earlier.
And then Fabian Espindola broke everybody's heart.
For sure.
He hit the woodwork twice and then missed a sitter at the end.
Yeah. That was a tough one because you felt like it was there for them. And
it was 100% there.
That was where that was
because
in
they got a
Monterrey's
draw. They got
three straight titles. That was one of the three.
They got a draw in Monterrey in the
first late goal,
leg.
I think, from Javi Mo.
I want to say a free kick goal. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a late goal. No, I don't think so. I think it was in the box, late arriving run. I don't know. Either way, it was a huge
came in
result.
1-1, so they had the away goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Humberto Suazo was the best player in this region for that 4 or 5 year run, whatever it was, and that was heartbreaking and brutal. But it was fun to watch.
Let's get into the nitty gritty here before we get our predictions, which are destined to be heartbreaking. Let's just go through the teams. Who do we think has the best chance of winning this?
I mean, I already gave my spiel for the Sounders.
Sounders?
Right?
All right, let's start with the Sounders. Look, the reception in Mexico for Gonzalo was tough. We would have drilled in on him on that, but we had to end that one a little earlier. How much do they care? How much should they care, the Seattle Sounders? What do you think, Charlie?
I mean,
sorry.
I think they should care. I think they should go for this tournament, and I do believe that they're looking at the brackets and they're saying we have the best chance out of all the MLS teams. We probably don't have to face, we don't have to face a Mexican team till the semifinals if we progress. And that's if Tigres beats New York City FC. So for me, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for Seattle to actually be the first MLS team to get it done.
So give me the big sell, Doyle. Why will they get it done? Why could they get it done? Why would they, should it happen that way?
Because they wouldn't have to play a Liga MX team until April.
That's it. That's literally it.
No, there's another half.
By the way, that was RSL's path too.
Yeah, but I don't know why he just said that's literally it. He said, "Give me the big sell." He gave me half a sentence, and then he's like, "That's literally it." What the hell is this?
It makes a big connection. It makes a big difference to be able to go into. You have two quality games, home and away legs, and then you don't have to play a Mexican team until your team's in form.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
And especially because they do have a bunch of new faces on... Do you want to interrupt me or should I keep going?
I'm listening.
They have a bunch of new faces on the back line. They have match winners in Reed Diaz, Ladero, Jordan Morris. They have defensive solidity. Moving Christian Roldan to the right wing, it's not going to make them a more exciting team, but it makes sense given that they're at their best, I think, when Kelvin Leerdam is getting all the way forward. And if Roldan is your right winger, then you could just say, go ahead, Kelvin, you're going to have defensive cover. On top of that, they have buy-in from the top down. Garth Lagerwey has said, we're going to play the kids in the first half of the season because we really care about winning the Champions League. On top of that, and this is something that I think both Seattle and LAFC, and to a lesser extent Atlanta, are playing for, if any of those three teams wins this tournament, they have a legitimate claim on the best MLS team of all time. With Seattle, it would be, we won 2 MLS Cups and CCL. We went to 3 MLS Cups over a 4.5-year stretch. And we did it with, in large part, the same group, at least the same approach. And then they have, beyond that, they have the argument that they made last year. When we had our starting players, when we had Jordan Morris, Ladero, Reed Diaz, when we had them available, we were 21-1-1 or something like that. With LAFC, it's very obvious. We had 72 points. We only lost in the playoffs because we got hurt. And now we won this as well. We're the best team. With Atlanta, it would be 4 trophies, including 2 against Mexican teams, in 3 years. That's a lot of incentive to be the one who says it's not 28 or not 2017 Toronto FC. It's actually us who's the best team, and we went out there and showed it by doing what Toronto couldn't do.
See the doubt
with Seattle. They have a ton of continuity on their team, but it's not at center back. And that's a spot that's killed MLS teams against Liga MX teams. It's a spot that killed Seattle against Chivas. If you remember, I think Kim Ki-hee made his debut in that game, and he was one of the best defenders in MLS for the next 2 years. He looked like me in that game. Like, it's an overwhelming experience now. This game, if they do play a Mexican team, will happen later in the year, back to what you said, than what had happened last time, yeah. But that's the huge fear with them is that, one, Nico Lodero is actually injured right now, and then two would just be that they go in and it's probably Svensson at center back, quite honestly, right now until we see how Andrade fits in and how Arriaga's playing for a big CCL game. But that's the big fear is just there are Liga MX teams that what they'll do is split their team. They'll sit deep with 5 and they'll push, 3 high, and they believe that individually, so let's take Tigres, for example, Gignac and Valencia by themselves can take on the Seattle backline, so they don't have to commit numbers into the attack. They can defend with numbers, counter, score, and then you're behind the 8 ball.
All right, LAFC, how much should they care? I mean, they just traded Walker Zimmerman. Was that a sign that they don't care that much?
No,
or was it a sign
I think people are over analyzing that move. Way too much, is in the sense that you think Bob Bradley is going to trade somebody away to throw away a potential at winning a tournament. No chance. They went through the analytics of the move. They went through, I'm sure it comes down to business, numbers, and potential. Maybe we don't know that someone's performing in preseason or somebody's playing a lot better.
Zimmerman wasn't there for most of what they had gone through so far, and Blackman was. So maybe they looked around and said, actually, we feel good.
We're getting a tremendous offer, a deal that you're not going to refuse for a player that we feel it's worth.
So
it's
care.
Worth the trade.
We all
they
agree.
care.
They care. They want it. Look, Bob Bradley didn't come to this league like kind of be average. He came to this league.
That's not their franchise. That's not their organization.
How would they make history? Can they make history? Make the case for them.
They can. When you have talented players on the roster, when you have Carlos Vela on that roster, when you're well coached and organized, they have game winners. They have match winners. They have the talent. The problem with this is you play Club Leon off the bat. And like Gonzalo Pineda has told us, it's not an opportune time for MLS teams. You're coming straight into preseason. All of a sudden, you don't have that much time. And in some cases, you're dealing with incorporating new systems, new players. It's very tough to finally get your feet under you and then play against a quality team in Club Leon who are top Liga MX. It's difficult. You beat them, if you do, you got to play Cruz Azul, another tough opponent, a team that's well organized. They have their style, they know their structure. It's a difficult opponent. You get through them, and you got Club America or Atlanta. I mean, it's similar to what Toronto FC did, right?
Yeah,
it's big time team, big time team.
But I would say I agree with you 100%. It's not the draw you wanted, but TFC played Tigres and Club America. I'd rather play this Cruz Azul team like any day of the week. They are the weakest.
Get there, right?
100%, but they are the weakest Liga MX team. So if they can get through Leon, I think they have a pretty good shot at beating this Cruz Azul team. It's a team that has some injuries. It's a team that doesn't control the game as well as the other ones. And I think LAFC will be the better team against them, which is rare to say for a lot of MLS teams. But yes, they have to beat 3, maybe 4 Liga MX teams, which is impossible. They have the best player on the field. They also have continuity. Like, they have a clear system that they're going to play. Bob Bradley believes in, which I think a lot of coaches get scared in these moments, and Bob won't. And the other thing is they're returning most of their players. The Zimmerman move hurts because of timing, but back to your points, everyone else is returning for this team, right? The other 9 starters in this lineup.
Then you get Kenneth Vermeer in
9,
goal.
because you have a new goalkeeper as well. Okay, seed the doubt. Come on, Grim Reaper.
It's a wood chipper of a schedule, and we've been talking about Club Leon a lot. They are atop the league right now, and Mena has been scoring for like the past 18 months. He's been ridiculous. Montez, their playmaker. They have guys like Jonathan Campbell who are so Concacaf-y and able to win games with some of the dark arts. They're just a really good, solid team. And to go from that to Cruz Azul to Club America or Atlanta before you even the bracket is just too tough, and there's too much uncertainty now with that back line. Like when the Walker Zimmerman trade was made, I thought, okay, either they're going to announce immediately a center back to replace him, or they really are just that high on Tristan Blackman and they have a right back coming in.
Same.
And like nothing has happened, and it looks like they're going to go into this series.
By the way, we're taping this a full 4 days earlier than this happened.
This
so
is
it's
Thursday.
on Thursday. So by
Maybe
Monday, that may have
happen.
changed. Who knows?
Yeah, but even so, you're going to have somebody into the lineup who
Brand new.
is brand new against the highest scoring team in Liga MX right now. And if you get past them, then you have this Cruz Azul team, whom I actually disagree with. I think I've watched Cruz Azul, twice now in the Clausura. They're fun. And Santi Jimenez, their 18-year-old center forward, he's got 2 or 3 goals at this point. He's fun and he's dangerous. And it's just one thing after another after another. Man, if they win this, then there's no question
it would be epic.
They are the best team in MLS history.
So can I go back to the first question, which is how much does this matter? And I agree with Charlie that Bob Bradley's teams always step on the field believing they're going to win, wanting to win. Everything matters. But no team in MLS would sell their starting center back 2 weeks before MLS Cup.
Unless there was a phenomenal offer.
I disagree, though.
And
Not
there's a
before
plan.
MLS Cup. But MLS Cup
No,
is
but
different. Time out.
What I'm saying is...
Does that logic work?
Because it means everything to them. Yeah, coming out of... If LAFC was in the position they were last year, and it was the last week of August, and the European transfer window was closing, they got $1 million offer for Walker Zimmerman. I don't think they sell there because they're going to win MLS Cup. And that still matters more to these MLS teams. And I would agree that LAFC is going to do everything in their power that they can now to win this. But the real thing was, screw this future. This is the plan. This is how we're set up. We want to win CCL this year. Then you keep him on the roster until this summer.
Yeah, it kind of felt like they had an opportunity, given what they did in the regular season last year, to say CCL and MLS Cup. We know we can kind of split prioritize here. We'll focus on CCL first. Just got to make the playoffs. 7 teams get in, and then we know we have the best team in the league. We'll do something.
And it goes to the work we're going to talk about in a second that Atlanta has done.
Yeah. All right, you want to do Atlanta now?
Sure.
How much does it matter to Atlanta?
Clearly, it doesn't. There's no way you can get around that. There's no way with the business that they've done, the way they've done it, that this is the most important thing to this team. Because otherwise, most of the sales you're going to do and most of the work you're going to do actually makes more sense in the summer from a worldwide market. They obviously sold LGP to Mexico, which makes sense right now.
What if Frank de Boer said to them, I can win CCL, but you have to give me my players? What if that's the thought process behind it? They brought in
2 guys.
They brought in Rossetto, Castro, the center back, Meza, the center back. Yeah.
Castro's coming in
Anton Walks.
Castro. Sorry,
Oh, stop it with that.
Castro's coming in the week before the competition starts. Rossetto
can't even play in the first game away because he doesn't have the visa.
So then, no, this isn't the most important thing to them, and that's fine. They've been super successful as a team. They already beat Club America last year. You can do whatever you want, but the way their business has operated, and I think we could say this probably about every MLS team, which I think has been a little disheartening, is just this isn't priority number 1.
I agree. You lose Nagbe, you lose Gressel, you lose LGP, and there hasn't been enough reinforcements to even warrant the shot at chasing CCL, let alone trying to go for the MLS Cup.
Okay.
Now.
Okay, that's a pessimistic side.
Yeah.
I'm here for the positive.
We started with the seed the doubt.
Yeah,
Hey,
they've replaced all those guys.
Tell me about how they could win it. Why they might win it.
I mean, the same way that they beat Club America last year. They went out there with the biggest and most successful team in North American soccer history, and they beat them. Now, granted, that was a one-off at home, but you get through this tournament by keeping it close on the road and then winning your home games. And by the way, Atlanta last year, even as ragged as they were, beat Monterey at home. And in that road game, they were fine for 80 minutes, and they just had a breakdown, which is like a complete mental breakdown at the end. This team, they have more know-how. They have in Frank de Boer a coach who has won stuff at a high level before, and he has his players. Granted, you won't have Rossetto for the first round, but you got to get past
I think he can play at home.
Okay.
Yeah, he can't go to Motagua.
So you you're going to get past them. Then you're going to have Club America in the second round. You're ready for Club America. Then in the third round, you're going to have either Cruz Azul, LAFC, or León. Do you think Atlanta United feel like they can't beat any of those three teams?
Do you think it's going to go the same way that it did in Campeones Cup final against Club America?
No. I think Club America will be favorites. But I'm making the case for Atlanta to win.
Yeah, no, I was just asking a question.
I would say this. If you offered Club America fans Barco, PT, and Joseph for Club America's attacking core, they would do that trade in a second. In a second. You have Joseph Martinez, you always have a chance to win.
Seed the doubt.
They seeded the doubt first. They seeded the doubt first.
Your point about what happened against Monterrey last year goes back to the fact that when they go into that game, they are not a team. When things fall apart, when you get tired at altitude after 70 minutes, you have nothing to fall back on because you all just met. You don't have shared experiences. You don't have ideas of, okay, plan A, B, and C isn't working, but we're an MLS Cup champion. We can go to D because those people aren't those players and they have no relationship and they've not worked together. Besides, and then you go back
in pressure situations. They have in a preseason.
Yeah.
And
down in Mexico, which is great. That was a great idea to go down and play in Guadalajara and get that experience. But that's one of the things. It's always killed MLS teams because of the timing of this competition, as we've discussed. But now, as you see more money, it's disheartening to me that this doesn't matter more by saying, you know what, we actually can cover this player for now and we'll deal with it in the summer and then try and peak as we go into the playoffs. And that's not the mindset, and that's one of the reasons these teams fall apart.
Okay, NYCFC, they go to San Carlos, or they go to the place that San Carlos is playing. They go to Costa Rica, then they come back, play at Rebel Arena. You know all about their vagabond status by now. How much does this team care? What do you think? They basically stood pat.
As much as they care about anything.
Yeah, they stood pat, and they made a couple nice little moves, but they have a stacked attack. It's going to be hard to get minutes for all these players. They've got a solid back line. Midfield is good.
They were a 65-point team.
Feels like a team that could quietly be the team that's like, oh, wait, they made a run here because, yeah, they could basically get Seattle or Montreal or Saprissa. You would think. I don't want to discount Olympia here, but in the quarterfinals, and then it would be Tigres in the semis. But excuse me,
no, it would be Tigres in the quarters. Yeah.
Sorry, NYCFC, I made it easier for you than it is.
So the rosy picture for NYCFC is they brought back their top 13 players from last year. Their only obvious weakness was no left back and backup for Monterita, and then they got the Icelandic singer guy. So like they are too deep just about everywhere. They're in trouble if Maxi Morales is hurt, but like every team in MLS is in trouble if their best player is hurt. They have San Carlos in that first matchup in the round of 16, and we just heard from John about how San Carlos is not great right now. They have Tigres in the quarterfinals if they get past San Carlos, and if Tigres advances, we know Tuca doesn't really care all that much about CCL.
But that might not matter in the end. And then at that point, they're in the semis against most likely either Seattle, Saprissa, or Montreal, and NYCFC is not going to be concerned or intimidated at all about any of those teams over two legs. Seed the doubt. What is the issue?
Last time.
Well, the issue is that they've never done it before.
No, the issue is they had one of the best teams in MLS. They changed coaches, and it went downhill fast. And that is the issue with this: is you don't have Dome Torrent to run this team, and you don't have what he's installed.
You know what? That's refreshing because we had just dumped on Dome for a long time.
Hey,
but
they were the best who takes a 70-point team and turns them into a 65-point team deserves respect.
But it goes back to the idea of it's his team. It's his blueprint. Yeah. That's his DNA. He's the one who has all the different ideas of how he wants to change things, and the guys have worked under. This team has a great chance at this because of the continuity Doyle talked about. They're one of the deepest teams, and they brought everyone back. They don't because the guy who led what they did and built this whole thing isn't there. And
wait, let's not go that far. What? I mean, he took over Patrick Vieira. Let's not.
Yeah, but he ruined the team and then rebuilt it.
Let's not discredit like who Patrick Vieira brought.
But it goes to the point of they had a great team. They got a new coach. It went to S. They have a great team. Nice. They have a new coach. So what's the process now? And if Ronny Delia doesn't continue what Dome Torrent's doing, are they ready in March to play Tigres? That would be my main concern.
They have a warm-up game in San Carlos, which will go a long way.
And they'll feel very comfortable in the home leg.
And they have the leadership. I love Alexander Ring. I can't stress that enough of what a player like him does for a team. His ability to cover ground, organize, get the ball off his feet, get the ball to Maxi Morales, and let that attack run free. They have a lot of players for rotation, so you don't have to worry about stressing Bear or Castellanos or Matriza or Tajuri Shroudy. They have so many players that can hurt you in a variety of different ways. That's why this team is primed for a run in this tournament if they can get by Tigres, and that's the big if. If they do that, then all of a sudden we're talking about NYCFC having a real strong chance of winning this tournament.
Yeah, I think they're quietly the team that everybody should pay attention to. Now,
and also there's a karma thing, because nothing would be more Metro than watching NYCFC make a deep CCL run and maybe even win the thing at Red Bull Arena.
You don't think by that time they'd be back at Yankee Stadium?
I mean, if you start winning games at Red Bull Arena NYCFC,
just take it over.
Then you have to stick with it,
actually,
right?
we just play CCL games at Red Bull Arena. That's the way this thing works. Last team, and then we'll get our predictions. Montreal Impact is going to be, I think, a rude awakening for Thierry Henry. Do you think they care about this tournament? They have in the past. Shout out Eddie Sabrango. Shout out the Legends in 2015. This is a club that has prioritized this. Can they afford to prioritize it right now?
I don't think any of what you're asking matters because reality sets in with them. Like, they need to get their club on the right track going forward. They'd love to win this, but what is caring about it mean? They're going to try and win the games, but they need to be somewhere in the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021 that they're not right now. And
I'd like
that's
this
the conversation.
matchup. I'd like this matchup a lot more if they had Piatti.
I mean, that's a universal statement,
Yeah.
right? Just rubber stamp that, and every single time you see a lineup, like, I'd like this more if I saw Nacho Piatti.
I just think they're under too much change to really make a run. When you're implementing new tactics and philosophies, and Thierry Henry's got to figure out, where certain players are going to play. Where's the most beneficial place for, some of the guys on his squad. So I think for me, Montreal is going to take a couple months before they finally get going.
And is he going to go in to a Seattle matchup and sit deep and counter? Like, if that's not the way he wants his team to play, is he going to do that 4 weeks into his tenure just to win that one game? I don't think so, because that will hurt the progress that he wants to create.
I can't wait for the moment he's in the Purple Monster pregame. It's bouncing, the ceiling's shaking. And he's just like, oh my gosh, this is my first for the Impact? Cool. He'd probably get jacked up by it. Give me the positive side for the Impact. I think we've been a little bit negative here. What is there a good positive case to make? Bojan, Lepolainen, Akwankwo had a nice season last year.
That's not on my guy Tider.
Tider is obviously quality.
They're solid.
Yeah.
Don't.
No? Wait, come on, bro.
Don't put Piet with Bojan, and can't put him in the same sentence here.
Piet's been a much better MLS player than Bojan.
Bojan's been here for 3 months.
Yeah, he's played like 3 games.
And he has not looked the part of an MLS player. He has struggled. They've struggled in preseason.
You were supposed to do the positive.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Ron Fan 11.
Weird stuff happens in Concacaf.
So convincing.
Like if that 2015 team can make it.
That's a good point.
Weird stuff happens in CONCACAF.
Okay. All right. Here's the prediction time. We'll get out of here.
Dilly Duka needs to get back from Albania. Let's go.
Exactly. These games start on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All visits for MLS teams. Atlanta to Motagua. LAFC play in León. Montreal against Saprissa. NYC against San Carlos. And Seattle Olympia. Let's just go big picture. I don't care about the first round. I don't care about those matchups. Is this the year? Is this the year that MLS finally does what we've been waiting for them to do? Is this the year that we get to stop doing every single show, conversation,
body language
column,
right now.
everything about this? It's not this year. Not this year. Almost. No, it didn't happen. Liga MX still on top. Is this the year?
His body language is killing me right now.
That's the way he should feel.
Because I'm trying to think about it.
He should be buried right now. Emotionally, he should be bereft. He should have nothing left.
There's a half of me that I think Doyle made the point on like 2 or 3 of the positives is like there's a lot of continuity on 3 of these teams between Seattle, LAFC, and NYCFC. And that's one of the things that MLS has struggled with is new teams trying to get together going into this competition. If Kim Ki-hee was still on Seattle and Dome Torrent was with NYCFC, I'd feel a lot better than I do right now. So no, I'm going to say yes because I'm always going to say yes. So yeah, I'm going to say yes, but no, I don't actually think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I think next year is.
Next year, I think
That's what we said
certainly.
last
Oh,
year.
my God.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's an annual tradition, David.
Yeah. No, not this year. I mean,
Jim
I think
Nance
this is
over
the
here.
key competition to seed the doubt in. There's no way MLS is going to win this thing. They never win it. They won't do it this year. Seattle don't have their back line right. Ladero's a
LAFC got a
question
bad
mark.
draw.
I think if LAFC get past Club Leon, I think they do it.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm here for that.
All right.
I'm here for that.
I think they do it if they get past Club Leon.
Okay.
I like
Anybody
that.
else going to go positive on that note, or are everybody just going to? No.
Wait till next year.
Exactly. Why expose yourself? Why just take the gut punch now, everybody? We're not winning this thing. That way, in a couple months, when we do win, we can come back and celebrate. Because this is the year. And I can't sit at this table and not say that. I love this tournament, and I love the heartbreak. That's part of it. It's part of the experience of believing in something that you shouldn't believe in, like projecting the impossible and saying, yes, this will happen, and then just taking your medicine when time comes.
Anything is possible.
You got that right.
Anything is possible. And with that, we are out of here. Thanks for listening. Western Conference preview coming on Thursday.
I always knew you were a Celtics
East on
fan.
Monday. Prediction show the next Thursday before the season starts. We're almost there. Everybody enjoy the soccer.